For each progressive length or character set to complete, I can run 6 characters, 7. I could have different character sets running at the same time. Basically what you're doing here is you're optimizing the process and you're speeding up the process of password breaking. And finally I could run brute force of all multiple characters. The issue with password breaking is, while your password breaking attempt is running, your resource is locked for that period of time. Or your processor, you might run multiple instances of the software, but at the end of the day, the hardware upon which you're running is the same. Then we come to the concept of distributed password recovery. Now, this is a very, very interesting concept. Let's say I need to run a distributed password recovery software. What do I require primarily to start off with as of now? I require a server, precisely, and I require a network, and I require agents. Right? The more the number of agents I have, the more efficient or the better my processing power is going to be out there. So all of this, as you understand, costs money. It takes time to get together. And am I going to be cracking passwords 365 days a year? Not actually. These password cracking attempts might come, let's say, once a month or once in a few months. So is it actually worthwhile for me to invest that kind of resource into this particular password breaking attempt? I don't think so. So what do? I set up a cloud server. On the cloud server, I'm basically going to set up my distributed agent and the server over here. Let's try to see how that's done. Okay, I've got my Rackspace cloud right now. Basically, I'm just going on to the list of my servers, just taking a time to open up. Okay, basically, to put it very, very simply, what is this entire forensic process going to do? What would require you an entire forensic network and a forensic lab to do in reality? I would do the entire thing on demand in a very, very cost-effective manner, scaling up when required, scaling down when required. Okay. Now, I've basically got a list of servers over here. One is the suspect system, which I've imaged yet. The other is basically going to be my configuration system that I've configured. It's going to be Derry. I got 3 forensic servers, Winx 1, Winx 2, and Winx 3 that are running forensic tools. And the last one is called an indexer. I'll be explaining each one's roles a little later. But basically, what have I done out here? I set up a standard forensic network in the cloud. So whatever forensic tasks would be required, I basically can just in the cloud. So I'm connecting to my server right now. In the meantime, we will run you through the basic operations that are required in any investigation, forensic investigation, a disk-based investigation. The basic operations, what we perform. Anyone? The very first step? Yeah? Okay. Okay. That's the acquiring part. The cloud is not very effective at doing out here. So you require other tools for acquiring data. You start off with the basic process of imaging or cloning. That's nothing but making a bitstream copy of the original. And then we would upload this bitstream copy to the cloud, and that's when your entire investigation would begin. Next step. Once you've got your image file or your clone, what do you do next to that? Okay. So we would analyze that using forensic tools. What are the basic operations in forensics that are generally done in most investigations? Hashing, okay, that's a legal requirement. Okay, what else? keyword searches, right? And almost every investigation will have a keyword search. What else? We're just talking the basics out here, but the all important basics. Okay, you have the keyword searches, that is traversing through the entire image file. Let's say it's a 500 GB image file. You will traverse through the entire image file looking for keyword traces. Secondly, you also have recovery of data from the images for analysis. We generally do not investigate the data within the image. You have to recover the data from the image. Third, once you recover the data, an analysis of the data, searching through the data, searching through this data that has been recovered. Now this is a very tedious task because of resource and a lot of time. Okay, my internet connection seems to be really slow. Let's do that again. In the meantime, let's continue with the slides and I'll come back to that once it connects. So this was the basic distributed password recovery system that I was talking about. On my big daddy, that is the cloud server you saw out there, I have installed the distributed password recovery system. Here I am using Elcom distributed password recovery system. It supports up to about 100 clients, agents at a time. So I've installed that and through a SIM on your cloud server, you have a public IP and your private IP. So just as you do on your LAN, you do the same on the cloud too. Using your private IPs, you will connect the agents to the server. The server distributes the password breaking task. It's like a job server. It distributes the password breaking task among all the agents. And this would basically the job here is. What one person would take 30 days to do, 30 servers would take 1 day to do. That's the basic announcement. Okay. The other service that we've got, now this is a cloud-based service. I'm talking 3 methods of cracking the password that we started off with. One, you could upload the file, try different kinds of attacks using your own password breaking tools. The other, using distributed password recovery, you could try to crack the password. Or third, if you're really smart, what you could do is simply use an online cloud-based password cracking system. This is decryption.com. What you need to do here is, all you have to do is simply upload the file that you want to crack the password for, the password protected file. So here I've got test.doc that I'm uploading to the server. And what this does is it gives you the first few lines as a preview just to demonstrate that it has actually cracked the passwords on this particular file. Now it's a paid service, so I'll have to buy credits and download the file along with the password. Or I get the password unsecured file for a download. Basically, this does it in a matter of few seconds. You get the file unsecured. It works well for strong as well as small passwords, basically. Okay. The next one which we're talking about is, apart from the password breaking, we're talking about the basic forensic activity. Now, how can you actually outsource the forensic activity to the cloud? I'm talking about an entirely cloud-based investigation. You have your network, your company network, and your cloud. Now, for any company to go into forensics or to conduct any forensic tasks, first, they would require forensic capabilities. Do they come cheap? No. There is huge capital expenditure over here, huge operational expenditures, and the return on investment is very skewed in such cases. So what they would go on is for an on-demand service for investigation and forensics. If there is any incident in their network, they would get in the cloud would be instantly deployed. From the suspect system, you will transfer the desired media to the cloud. Let's say the image of the suspect system uploaded to the cloud, or you could have data from the pen drives, whatever the media may be. Basically, what we're doing is we're transferring the data to the cloud, passwords, other such stuff. The entire investigation is handled within the cloud itself, internal to the cloud. All you have to do as an organization was connect to the cloud via SFTP, just upload the image file or the evidence, so to say, to your cloud. Sitting anywhere in the world, someone can investigate your entire case. Over here, we're talking about geographical independence. This gives you a completely different twist to the concept of outsourcing forensics. As of now, outsourcing forensics was a very, very tedious issue. But right now, it does not matter where the investigator is sitting geographically. All he needs to do is connect to the cloud, and the entire investigation can be done sitting anywhere in the world. It can be done on the fly, on the move. All you need is a terminal to connect to the cloud. Now here's what I'm going to do. The basic process is I take a bitstream image, that's my image file of the cloud of my suspect system. That image file, as you've seen, has been transferred to the cloud. On the cloud, I'm going to generate a forensic network now, so to say, to actually investigate this particular image file. The image file would remain one, and there will be a number of instances investigating the same image file, which is shared. The first process that I need to do here is mathematical authentication. That's nothing but hash values and checksums. In India, we've got only two algorithms admissible by court, SHA-1 and SHA-2. Earlier, MD5 was admissible. If MD5 was still admissible, it would be a great help in investigation. The reason being, every file uploaded to the Amazon server automatically will have an MD5 value generated. But MD5 has mathematical weaknesses, hence it has been declared obsolete. Okay. So, is the cloud actually going to optimize the hashing process? Okay. For running a checksum, for running a hash algorithm on the cloud, what are the variables that is going to affect the speed of hashing? On what factors does the speed of hashing depend? Okay. Size of the file definitely. That's not a variable for us as of now, so that's the evidence. What else?
The way or the algorithms you are going to use for it.
Okay, the algorithms, very good question. But then again, we've got only two algorithms admissible by Indian courts, so we don't have much of an option there. What else? Processing speed, to a certain extent, yes. But what I would consider here is a read-write speed. Because along with the processing speed, now what most people do not realize in forensics is there's always a trade-off. People going for the highest configuration, but that might not be the most effective configuration for forensics. The reason being, you could be having a very, very high processor. You could have a supercomputer for all you know. But if you cannot read data at that speed from your system, if you're reading at 10 Mbps, you can process it flops per second. Is it going to be of any use? Absolutely not. At the same time, if you've got solid state disks, you're reading very fast, but your processing is not keeping up with that, again, it's of no use. It's very important to have an equilibrium, basically, of the two. And that's something we saw from the cloud. Now, I raised this issue with Rackspace. I was just trying to query how much, what exactly is the IO rate that they would have given me. So basically, what I observed out here is, they sent me a reply saying that you get 7,200 RPM. That's roughly about 600 Mbps read-write speed on your hard disk over there. Do we get that on our normal systems? No. Again, this is a major optimization that you get from the cloud. This is speeds similar to a solid-state disk, which is very, very expensive, as you can understand. So here, there are a couple of factors that are going to speed up my hashing process exponentially. One, the speed at which I can read data. That is primary. Once I can read data, then my RAM and my processing power, obviously, is going to help me optimize the process. Second, in our local networks, again, bandwidth is a major issue. The speed at which data can travel. In a forensic network, high-speed data exchange is very, very important. And here's the data exchange rates on the cloud. So you can basically read from your hard disk at around 600 Mbps. Very rarely, as an investigator, you actually come across a case where you do not need to search for keywords. In such kind of cases, the time taken and the efficiency is going to increase exponentially. The second task that we often look at is data recovery. Now, in data recovery, what you need to do is, again, you need to recover deleted data from the image files, you need to recover some password protected files, etc. Is this time taking? Yes. This is also a very tedious process which takes a lot of time. Now again, you've got a very good read-write speed on the cloud, very good data exchange speed, network bandwidth on the cloud. So what I'm going to do is this. That same centrally located image file, I'm going to start extracting data. So I have forensic servers which start recovering data now. They can run their keywords and they can recover data at the same time. Different types of data. For example, in